Atlantic Television Network will bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. We'll tell you how basketball has been a good news for the female basketball side of First Bank because they've won this year's title again, and it's consecutive back-to-back win for Mountain of Fire as well. Kingsley, you're still here, and let's look at football now. The Nigerian Professional Football League is in action. Match day 7 fixtures are expected to come up this week, but while there will be match day 7, Remo Stars players we are told will wear black armband in the next home game against Insurance of Benin. The gesture is in honor of one of the supporters who died only 40 hours ago.
Yeah, I think for me, there's one thing, of course, we normally observe, in such kind of a situation. We talk about, their supporter. Was one man, of course, who really gave them that, support, both the fan, both in the stand, and all of that. So I think for me, it's good for them to put up that gesture just to honor the man as well. So let's see how it goes. Promises to be another exciting encounter for Remo Stars this weekend against Bender Insurance, and we look forward to see how they put up things. They won their last game, while Bender Insurance lost to Ikorodu City, who just came to the Nigerian Premier Football League. So it's going to be a very tight one to look out for, and we'll see how the result, of course, will pan out this weekend.
Remo Stars, they seem to be doing so well, especially at their stadium at Ikene. They've not lost any game at home, and they score numbers of goals, especially at home.
Yeah, they've been one of the best this season in the Nigerian Premier Football League so far. In fact, currently they are top of the log, as it is. It's been a fantastic start for Remo Stars. I think they've just lost once. They've just gotten one loss so far this season. But despite that, they've been doing so well, especially at home. And I tell you, it's going to be another interesting cracker. Looking at the fact that Bender Insurance will be coming all out for this one due to the fact that they lost their match, the 6th encounter against Ikorodu City. So we'll just see how Remo Stars, of course, will be able to put up things for them. So I think they are very much optimistic this time of winning the league. See the way they are challenging big teams like Enugu Rangers, Akwa United and the rest of them. So we'll just see what Remo Stars, of course, have this time this season.
Well, let's look at the Waffle B Under-20 Championship expected to kick off tomorrow in Lome, Togo. 20 Nigerian players have been shortlisted for this championship. to emerge as one of the qualifiers for the Under-20 Championship coming up next year. Well, talking about national team reminds me of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They are ill-treatment by their Libyan counterparts. In the past few days has made their headlines. Where do we go from here? CAF and its disciplinary committee.
I think for me, we just wait for the verdict of CAF at this point, because I think all has been said about this particular one. The NFF, that's the Nigerian Football Federation, they've put up their claims down there of what really happened. and the Libya Football Federation as well, they've also put up their claim of what happened as well at the Libya airport. So for me, at this point, a lot has been said about what really happened, and we should look forward to hear what CAF will be able to do. What will be the decision of CAF at this point? Will it be awarding 3 points and 3 goals to Libya, or awarding 3 points or 3 goals, to Nigeria, or maybe postponing the game, just like we've seen the game has been postponed and being played in a neutral ground where both teams, of course, will come compete for all 3 points, or probably maybe one side will be punished, for not, for not play for the fact that they didn't play that particular one. So let's just see what CAF will be able to. I think CAF have been so silent, over this issue. They should be able maybe to take appropriate measures. Just to understand, they are currently investigating and trying to maybe collect data and see what, of course, really happened and understand. But they should act quick, and let's see what this, of course, will be at the end of the day. This should be a lesson as well to North African teams that I think some other part of Africa as well do not want to tolerate this anymore. The North African teams, they've always been known for this, always trying to put up antics like this in order to win games. And I think for me, it's a good one that the Super Eagles of Nigeria didn't honor that particular one, because everything was so threatening to them. Their life were threats, and all of that, and they had to boycott that one. So we'll just wait to see what will be the verdict of CAF, and we'll look forward to see what will be the consequences, for both teams going forward.
Well, we just hope that CAF will do the right thing, and the disciplinary committee. No Nigerian is a member of that disciplinary committee, Kingsley.
Yeah.
Does that worry you?
Yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry, because if you take a look at that, if you take a look at CAF, the people who are the MFS, bulk of them are North Americans. Bulk of the members down there in CAF, are North Americans, and so many persons are saying this might not go in favor of Nigeria. Looking at that, but I think at this point, we should be fair. The president of CAF, Patrick Mosempe, is from South Africa, so I think at this point in time he should weigh in and let everything be be put together. Let the decision be made amicably. Let the decision be made with high level of transparency, and fairness. Because if at the end of the day they decide, maybe they decide to lay the hammer on Nigeria just like that, it's going to be very, very wrong. Taking a look at how the Super Eagles of Nigeria were poorly treated at the airport where they landed just to honor that particular encounter was not a good one at all. Those players, they are celebrities, they are stars. What if something probably might have happened to them? So you take a look at all that happened, you see that CAF decision on this one shouldn't be one-sided. The Libyan Football Federation, of course, should also face the consequences because of how they treated the Super Eagles of Nigeria as well.
The future of African football is at stake, and how teams are treated when they go away. It's normal around the world. The football protocol that host nations have to host, have to properly welcome their teams, the away teams when they have to play. And if the ill-treatment is condoned, then it could spiral to some other countries, especially here in Africa. Let's quickly talk about the African Cup of Nations qualifier. The international break is now over. Teams that had arrived, in a bid to qualify for the World Cup, for the Cup of Nations coming up in Morocco next year, some of them have emerged. And but first, let's look at results of the Black Stars of Ghana. They had a very torrid run, Kingsley. What happened to the Black Stars? Because they are on the verge of not qualifying for this tournament. The last time we saw them not qualify was about 10 years ago, and it looks like this will just repeat itself. Last night against Sudan, they were beaten by 2-0, and they've had terrible results. Now losing to a lowly rated country like Sudan, the Black Stars of Ghana, one of the teams that should qualify for the World Cup, but now they are on the verge of not qualifying.
It's a very terrible one for the Black Stars of Ghana. I think when you take a look at it, there is no chemistry in that team. Otto Addo, the coach of Ghana, has not been able to, I think, try to put the players, in order. They would not see them, playing as a unit, just like we used to see before.
They have only 2 points from 4 games.
So bad. Very bad.
Out of a possible 12 points.
For a group that has Angola, for a group that has Sudan, for a group that has Niger Republic, and Ghana are seated third with just 2 draws, and they've not won any game. It's so bad for the
And the next
Ghana.
game is against Angola. Definitely that will be.
Because Angola they're in a very good form in this particular qualifiers. In fact, they are seated top of that group, with about 12 points. So you see that Angola, their strength, and Ghana, they are no match at all. They are no match. So for me, it's really going to be a very tough one for the Black Stars of Ghana. Their fans have been so frustrated. Even the Football FA, they've been also so frustrated with this poor performance we've seen.
Talking about qualifiers so far for the African Cup of Nations coming up with Morocco next year, Egypt is one of them. Kingsley, the Pharaohs of Egypt beat their counterparts last night by 1-0. Talking about Mauritania. Yes, you will expect that they should do that, especially on the away soil. Yeah,
for me, I think Egypt, they've done so well this time in the qualifiers. They played 4 games and they've won all 4 games. You see a very good pattern of play from the Egyptians this time, in making sure that, of course, they get down to the AFCON 2025. And so we look forward to see how they will perform at the end of the day.
Talking about qualifiers, early qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations coming up next year, we have one of the very top teams here in Africa qualify for the competition. Apart from apart from Egypt, we have a Congo DR as well as one of the early qualifiers.
Yeah, it was. If you take a look at it, I think Congo had a very impressive, one in this particular qualifiers. They were able to put up some impressive.
They beat Tanzania by 2-0.
Yeah, beat Tanzania by 2-0. But it was a tough one between them, and South Africa as well. But I think they were able to hold their own as well, and to make sure that they get what they want. So we look forward to see Congo coming up this time and see how far they were able to go.
Angola has qualified for the Nations Cup with matches to go. They beat Niger by 1-0.
Yeah, Angola, impressive one. I think if you take a look at it, they are the best team in that group, where you have Sudan, you have Ghana, you also have the Niger Republic. Angola, they really put up a very, very impressive performance, and I tell you, we should be looking up to them, comes the AFCON 2025 in Morocco next year.
Well, Senegal, they have qualified, and courtesy of a very last-minute goal scored there by Sadio Mane.
Yes, it was a very tight game. Very, very tight game, of course, we saw yesterday. And for me, I think Senegal, they still have the touch, despite not being with one of the coach that has been with them.
Aliou Cisse have resigned?
Yes, they still have that touch, in them. I think
Malawi shouldn't give them so much trouble.
Malawi, I think so far, yes. If you take a look at it, Malawi, they are the how will I put it now? They've not done so well in that group. So they needed all 3 points in that game, and that's why they gave Senegal a very tough time, in that encounter. If you take a look at it, Malawi are seated 4th. They've not won any game, so they needed a win in that game. Don't forget, Senegal were playing away from home as well. So they needed a win to be able to stand their ground in that particular one. So that's why it was a little bit tough, for Senegal in that encounter. But for what it is, they've qualified with 10 points. And of course, they're one of the teams to look out for in the AFCON 2025. So let's just see how it goes for the Senegalese side. More
qualifiers. We know that Cameroon and Algeria equally has qualified for the next edition of the Nations Cup coming up in Morocco. Morocco, like as host nation, equally have qualified, and they are waiting for other teams to join them up out there. There are still some games to play. Maybe by next month, we will see more qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations. Now, let's quickly go to Europe. And in Europe, the biggest news this hour is the fact that Thomas Tuchel, the former Chelsea boss and Borussia Dortmund coach, Bayern Munich coach as well, is set to become the next England manager. The Three Lions of England in discussion with Thomas Tuchel, and we are told in the next few hours from now there could be a press conference announcing Thomas Tuchel as a replacement for Castley, who has not performed so well with the Three Lions of England.
For me, I think good one. If definitely, of course, the deal will be signed at the end of the day, I think it's a good one. A good signing for England. Thomas Tuchel is one man who knows English football very well. He knows the players very, very well. He has coached, at Chelsea Football Club, and he knows what it takes, to play in England. He knows the players in and out. And I think for me, it will be a very, very good one, a good replacement for Gary Southgate, who was there for so many years, but couldn't.
He was there for 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years, but couldn't able to give them a trophy, taking them to finals, but at the end of the day, not being able to churn out, a major trophy for them. He has to, of course, tender his resignation outside the last, Heroes. But Thomas Tuchel coming in, I think, is a manager who knows what it takes. He's coach in France, he's coach in Germany, and he has also coached in England. So for me, I think he has the experience. He knows the players very well. And for me, it will be a good one for England. And let's see if finally he will deliver a title for England after so many years.
England has never won a title in 60 years. The last time they won was 60 years ago. But now they've struggled to play at least in 2 semi-finals of the World Cup and the Nations Trophy as well. So it's been difficult for England to win a trophy in 60 years. Like, the best they have gone is the semi-final stage, and we hope Thomas Tuchel will do that. But Thomas Tuchel, Kingsley, the English are not very used to having foreign managers. In fact, if he comes on board, he will be the 3rd foreign manager of the Three Lions of England and the very, very first German to coach the English national team.
I tell you, and this time, looking at the fact that they have to go for him, it shows that maybe they want to, of course, change the narrative. They want to take a different direction this time to see if they can change the poor history of the fact that they've not won a title for so many years. And I think for me, is they want to try a new thing. And trying this one, for me, is a good one. Like I mentioned, Thomas Tuchel is one man I think and I feel he can deliver the title, of course, for England. He has what it takes. He has the managerial acumen and all that it takes to manage those players in England. I think from England, they have good players, but a manager that can be able to position these players, bring out the best in them, that is what they need at this point in time. And I think for me, Thomas Tuchel is that man.
Thomas Tuchel, the man who has some kind of rich resume, if you ask me. He's won 11 titles in his coaching career. Of course, a Syria winner with Bayern Munich. He won twice with Paris Saint-Germain, and of course Borussia Dortmund as well. So I think he knows what to do. He's won with Chelsea as well. So I think he's a good choice. He's worked in England. He knows the players so well. So we wish him the very best in the next few hours from now, that he will be expectedly announced as the new manager of the Three Lions of England. Quickly, let's look at some Nations Cup results. Spain have qualified as well for the Nations League quarterfinals. Scotland delivered what looks like a very impressive display, holding Portugal to a goalless draw. Cristiano Ronaldo was not on the score sheet in this one.
He wasn't on the score sheet. It was a little bit frustrated. I think that game ended in a 3-3 draw. Was a very highly contested encounter. Poland came all out in this one. Looking at how they've not performed so well so far, in that group. But Portugal, of course, were able to get an edge, but were not able to go home with all 3 points in that game. Cristiano Ronaldo was a little bit frustrated, looking at the fact that there was no chance, for him to, put the ball into the back of the net. But I think for me, was a little bit of a fair result for Portugal. At least they stand in a very, very comfortable position in that particular group.
Yes, and we saw Spain beat Serbia of all sides 3-0. That looks to me like a whitewash. Surprisingly, that the Serbians could not stand the firepower of the Spaniards.
Of course, I expected that level of performance from Spain because they've been very fantastic since so in the last Euros. Spain had been very, very fantastic. This is a team that is made up of young players, and I think that's why we've seen this level of synergy, and high level of performance, of course, from Spain. They've been so fantastic. I think if you take a look at the games they played so far, about 3 games, which they beat Serbia. They also got past Denmark as well. And for me, it has been a very, very impressive performance so far. So I actually expected that level of result from Spain.
Spain now into the Nations League quarter-finals. And we saw one man on the score sheet last night, Lionel Messi. What do you make of him? Hat-trick?
Yeah, impressive one. I think that game ended, was it not about, if not 4 goals or 6 goals thereabout, in that encounter?
A whitewash.
Yeah, they actually beat Bolivia. They beat them very, very well.
6-0, 6 unreplied goals.
Yeah, 6-0. Coming back after not having a very good outing, after coming back from injury, we saw the first game against Venezuela, which Argentina drew. Messi, of course, didn't have a very, very impressive play, but against Bolivia, they were able, of course, to put up a very, very impressive performance, and of course, he came back, of course, to get a hat-trick, and that's
hat-trick and 2 assists as well.
That's, of course, Lionel Messi, in Argentina, and we look forward to see, how far they go as well in the World Cup.
There looks to be something interesting happening to Manchester United, or do I say interesting, or do I say perplexing? Sir Alex Ferguson seems to have had a divorce with the club now. He's often seen as the global ambassador of the club and a director, but that relationship seems to have been separated now. What's happening between Manchester United and former coach Alex Ferguson?
From what we're seeing, I think you take a look at it, the hierarchy of the side now under the new owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they're trying maybe to put up, things at this point in time. But don't forget, the man was also being paid, even being as ambassador, a very huge amount of money.
He's a club director.
Yes, yeah, for Manchester United. Maybe they're trying to see how they can put things, maybe slash salaries, for the sport administrators, and all of that, and see how maybe they can divert funds, to some other areas. But for me, I think Ferguson so far has done his best, even while he was the coach of Manchester United, being the ambassador as well. He's tried the most he can to maybe lay some advice, to the coaches that have been there so far. But things seem not to go well for Manchester United. And at this point, I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the owner of the team now, has a lot to do. Everything not churning out the result needed by the fans, and Manchester United gradually deteriorating at this point. So it's a terrible state, terrible moment for Manchester United, and we hope they'll be able to put their house in order going forward.
Well, we'll have to wrap up the show now with this result. Interesting one for the Brazilians because they beat Peru by 4 unreplied goals, Kingsley, in the South American qualifiers. Brazil not having a good time in presently I think they are 4th on their table in their group, but they found a way to bounce back after some poor results in the previous 3 games.
I think 2 wins for them in the World Cup qualifiers. They were able to get past Uruguay, 2-1, and coming back, of course, to thrash Peru. For me, was a very good one for them. They've not been that, very fantastic, but I think from the last 2 games we've seen now, maybe they've actually gotten back themselves, because there have been heavy criticism, on them. And I think for me, from what we're seeing, they're gradually getting back their mojo. Of course, we know Brazil to be a very impressive side when it has to do with football. But of recent, we saw them, missing that touch. But I think they're gradually now getting back themselves. Was very fantastic against Uruguay and Peru.
Brazil not doing well, I must tell you. They've lost 4 of their 5 qualifiers, and that's not any good one by Brazilian standards themselves. They've had about just 10 points from an available place in their group, and that's not good. If you look Brazil, so we're 16 points from 10 games. 16 points from 10 games. That's not Brazil, if you ask me. But that's what it is for now. They are 4th place in their group. They really have to fight back. We'll be back later at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, when we review all of the results of the matches that were played yesterday in the Nations League, that's in Europe, and of course in the African Cup of Nations qualifier for 2025 as well. Their competition comes up in Morocco. A lot of teams have qualified. We mentioned to you at least 5 African countries have qualified for Nations Cup coming up next year. Review of that, and of course South American qualifiers for the World Cup in 2026 as well will be on showcase on our program Sports Extraordinary. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.